Today we are going to discuss the topic excess and deficient demand. So before going to the excess and deficient demand, let us first see a very small example which I have written here. This is me, that I purchased a book from a bookseller. So I gave money to bookseller and bookseller gave me book. Then bookseller needed some groceries. So he paid to the grocery seller and grocery seller gave him groceries. Thereby grocery sellers purchased grains from a farmer and paid money to the farmer, and farmer gave him grains. Likewise, farmer had to send his daughter to school and he sent his daughter to the school and gave fees to the school, and school in return was educating his daughter. And then the school suppose hired me and school is paying me the salary. So this is a vicious cycle of the economy where one person's spending is someone's income and someone's income is other person's expenditure or spending. So keeping this concept in mind, we shall pursue now towards the concept of excess demand and deficient demand. Now, as there is a shortage of time for the video, so I will be discussing only about the excess demand, and side by side I will be discussing about the deficient demand as well. Now, what is excess demand? Excess demand refers to a situation where the aggregate demand for the economy is more than the aggregate demand required to set up the full employment equilibrium level. Now, let us move to this figure where we can see that this aggregate demand AD C plus I, C here is consumption and I is investment. C plus I is the demand required to establish this full employment equilibrium. This 45-degree line is your aggregate supply line, and we know where the aggregate supply line meets the aggregate demand line, there we come to know the equilibrium level. But in excess demand situation, this aggregate demand becomes a little higher than the actual aggregate demand, and it comes at this AD1 level, which is here C plus I and delta I. Delta I is change in investment. Due to some change in investment, there is excess demand or situation of excess demand. So AD1 is higher than the AD, and that is the difference between the two is called the excess demand. The point difference between these two, E and F. E is the equilibrium which was supposed to be established at full employment level, whereas F is the actual aggregate demand which is in the economy, and therefore this gap between EF and F is called the inflationary gap. Inflationary gaps means the difference between the aggregate demand required to establish full employment and the actual aggregate demand which is higher than the aggregate demand required. So that gap is called as inflationary gap. So in this we have taken aggregate demand on the y-axis, whereas income, output and employment at the x-axis. Now one question can come into mind, that why and how, when already economy is at the full employment equilibrium, how is it possible that it is going, aggregate demand is going further or beyond the full employment level? Now this is very simple to answer. If we decide the suppose price of any MRP of any goods, so MRP, whatever we pay, we can say that we pay quantity into price. Whatever quantity we purchase and the price of one unit, we multiply them both, and that is the maximum price or the price which we pay for any goods. It's not good to write MRP, we can write it price, the total price, total payment that we make, we can say. So basically our payment depends upon two factors. One is quantity, how much quantity we purchase, and the price of that commodity. So in this case the quantity is M, which is already at the full employment equilibrium. Everyone is employed, all the resources are fully and efficiently utilized, so we cannot use beyond that. So the output cannot go beyond this level because it is already full employment. But due to the increase in price level, this total payment, or whatever we can say, the total amount which we have to pay is going to increase, and that is because the aggregate demand shows to be higher than the aggregate demand which is required to establish the full employment equilibrium. Now, to understand this situation better, we must know what are the reasons or causes of excess demand. Why excess demand situation arises in an economy? First reason is rise in the marginal propensity to consume. What is the propensity to consume? Propensity to consume means whenever people earn any income, like we were discussing this income graph. Suppose if person earns rupees 100, then he may spend 80 rupees and he may save 20 rupees. This 80 rupees which he spent is called consumption, and the 20 rupees he saves is called your savings. Let me remove this. So anyone who is earning an income consumes as well as saves anything. Suppose increase in propensity to consume means there is increase in consumption, rise in C, and decrease in S, that is savings. Now that person, if he is earning 100 rupees again, he will spend 90 rupees and save only 10 rupees. So you can say that, see that there is an increase in the consumption, whereas there is a decrease in the savings. So this is what they are talking about, rise in the propensity to consume. Propensity to consume means the tendency to consume, and the tendency to consume increases rather than to save the money or income which they have earned. They try to spend that income, and as we are aware that whenever the demand or people have money, they will obviously demand for any goods or services in the economy, and therefore the situation of excess demand will arise. Now next is reduction in taxes. Next cause of excess demand is reduction in taxes by the government. If government reduces the taxes, then we can understand it by, suppose if our earning is rupees 100 and we are paying 20 rupees as tax. So our personal disposable income which we can spend on purchasing goods and services is only 80 rupees, because 20 rupees we have to pay to the government as taxes. Now suppose if the government decreases or reduces the taxes, means now for earning 100 rupees we have to pay only 10 rupees as tax. So now the income that we can dispose of or we can spend of is rupees 90. You can see that there is an increase in the income from 80 rupees, now we can spend 90 rupees. 10 rupees more we can spend, that means we will demand for 10 rupees more goods and services, and again there will be a situation of excess demand in the economy. Then there is increase in government spendings. Government keeps on spending on the economy and people for various sectors of the economy, like suppose government makes roads and flyovers and railway tracks, etc., schools, hospitals, various things. So by the increase in government spendings, what happens that people get employment, people get more amount as their income, and they therefore again spend that money for their necessary things. That was I was talking about in that vicious cycle of the economy, where one people's earning is other one's expenditure, and other one's expenditure is other person's income. So this cycle keeps on going. Then next reason for the increase in excess demand, the reason for excess demand is increase in investment. Now investment is also sometimes increased by people or the firms who are in the, when we study the two sector economy, there are firms and households. So firms increase their investments in the economy, like they purchase a new building or they purchase a new machinery, so they also increase their investment. So the person who is spending, some other person is earning that amount, and therefore the money supply in the economy is again increasing, and with the increase in the money supply there is again the situation of excess demand. Then there is fall in imports. Imports are falling, means we are not importing goods from other countries as much as we were doing previously. So there is a shortage of goods which were available before. We were importing more, and now after when we are importing less. So that difference between the import which has taken place, now the people of the country will demand the same product from the domestic market. Therefore again the demand in the domestic market would increase, and it would create the situation of excess demand. As against import, there is just opposite situation for the export. There is a rise in export, means whatever we are producing in our country, we are selling it to the other country. So the people of this country will again be demanding more of the products. So that will be the rise in export, and again it will lead to the increase in demand by the people, and that will lead to the situation of excess demand again. And last point is deficit financing. The reason for excess demand, that is deficit financing. Now question comes into our mind, what is deficit financing? Deficit financing is when government is seeing that there is a shortage of money supply in the market, or government needs to spend some money but government does not have enough revenue, then government prints new currency notes. Usually as we know that for printing currency notes we are supposed to keep some gold reserves, but at the time of emergency government need not to keep gold as reserve, and they print currency notes just like that without any base of gold or any valuables in return, and they just print. That printing of currency notes is called as deficit financing. And if government is printing new currency notes, obviously the money that government is printing will be floated in the market, and again when money supply will increase in the market, people will demand for more goods and services, and again the situation of excess demand will rise. So the reasons for excess demand are rise in the propensity to consume, reduction in government taxes, increase in government spending. Now taxes and government spending also go opposite to each other. Then increase in investment by firms and other people, fall in imports, rise in exports, that again go back to back, and other is deficit financing. Now before moving on to the other part, let us see what is the impact of excess demand. Impact of excess demand in general economy, what is the impact? The impact on output. The output in the excess demand situation does not be affected, will not be affected. Why? Because already the economy is at full employment equilibrium, and it cannot produce goods beyond this OM quantity, because already all the resources and people, everything has been fully and efficiently utilized. So there will not be any impact on the output. So output will remain constant. Again on employment also there won't be any change in employment, because government will not be able to increase any employment, because all the people are already fully employed. No one is unemployed. So how can we employ more people when already everyone is employed? So there will be no change in unemployment as well. Now on general price level, there will be an increase, because as we know, when demand is more and supply is less, the price level tends to rise. So there is a situation where demand is more, supply cannot be increased by at any cost, because already we are at the full employment equilibrium. So the supply cannot be increased, and this demand situation will continue unless and until some measures are taken to curb this excess demand situation. That we will be discussing later on, measures to correct excess demand. Now in the same excess demand, as I told you, I will discuss deficit demand also in the same graph. Now if the same situation arises opposite to this situation, that is AD2 suppose is formed, and it is meeting this aggregate supply line at this point, and suppose this point is N. So we can see when the demand required to establish full employment equilibrium is less, than the demand which is actually required to full employment equilibrium, the actual demand is less than that, in that situation is called as deficit demand. And this again, suppose this point is named as G, so this E and G, this will be your deflationary gap. Just opposite to excess demand situation, this is deficient demand situation, and this inflationary gap, and this is deflationary gap. Reasons again will be just opposite to the excess demand. Rise in propensity to consume, that is for excess demand, so there will be fall in propensity to consume, means people will save more and consume less. Reduction in taxes for excess demand, increase in taxes for the deficit demand, deficient demand. Increase in government expenditure for excess demand, reduction in government expenditure are the causes for deficient demand. Decrease in investment, that is for deficient demand. Firms and other people invest less, so there is a situation of deficient demand. Rise in imports, people are importing more from outside and selling less in the market, so demanding less in the local market, so therefore there will be a decrease in the demand, aggregate demand. Then there is fall in the imports or decrease in the decrease in the exports. Export will reduce, and therefore this will create a situation of again deficient demand, and government will not be going for the deficit financing. In excess demand, government was doing deficit financing, therefore there was a situation of excess demand, whereas government will not be doing deficit financing, that is government will not be printing any currency notes. This situation may cause the deficit demand situation. Now the impact of deficit demand, what will be the impact of deficit demand? First, on the output, we can clearly see that output has reduced. From OM output, it has become ON, and this output is NM amount short of the actual demand which is required to establish full employment equilibrium. Unemployment, again, because of this output has reduced and people are not demanding goods, so there will be huge amount of stock that will be maintained because of people not purchasing the product. Products are being made in the economy on regular basis, but the demand has fallen. So demand has fallen, therefore there will be a huge amount of stock of unsold goods lying with the producers. So producer will have to stop their production or reduce their production for some time, and therefore they will ask their workers to leave the job, and they will not be needing the workers or laborers for producing the product, so many people will get unemployed. So unemployment will prevail, therefore the unemployment again, in deficit demand output will fall, employment will fall, and general price level will also fall, means price level also fall. Now we know that when the price of a commodity increases, the demand decreases, and when the price decreases, demand increases, that is the law of demand. So in this situation, the aggregate supply is more, means the supply of the commodity is more and the demand for the same commodity is less. So the overall price will tend to fall because of the excess supply. Now this is EF is the excess demand situation and EG is the excess supply or deficit demand situation, we can say. So this I discussed both in the same graph because there is shortage of time, and now let us come to the point, what are the measures to correct the excess demand? Suppose there is a situation of excess demand, there is inflationary situation in the economy. So what can be done to curb this situation, to correct this situation, so that the aggregate demand which is higher than the actual aggregate demand required to establish full employment may come down to the actual level which is required to establish the full employment equilibrium. So first, there are two policies which can be adopted. First is fiscal measures and other is monetary measures. Fiscal measures are taken by the central government, whereas monetary measures are taken by the central bank, or which is RBI in case of India. Fiscal measures are of two types. There is decrease in government spending. Government may reduce its spending because the cause of excess demand was increase in government spending. Government had increased its spending, so government may reduce its spending in order to lower the situation of excess demand and let aggregate demand come to the full employment equilibrium level. Another fiscal measure government can take is increase in taxes or revenue. The reason for excess demand was decrease in taxes, so government may inverse it and increase the taxes so that people may have less money to spend, less money to demand, and therefore the demand of the overall economy will automatically come down. These are the two fiscal measures. Then comes the monetary measures, which is taken by the RBI. There are two types of monetary measures. One is quantitative measure and other is qualitative measure. What is quantitative? Quantitative measure is the one which is related with the quantity or the actual amount of money supplied in the market, that is in the economy, and that quantity of money is regulated. It is reduced or increased as per the requirement. In the excess demand situation, that money supply is reduced so that people demand less amount of goods and services. So under quantitative measures, first measure is increase in bank rate, and second I am also taking is the increase in repo rate. Now bank rate and repo rate, they are very confusing sometimes, because bank rate is the rate at which RBI lends money to the commercial banks for long term period, and repo rate is the rate for which the RBI lends money to the commercial bank for short term period. Both are the same thing, but the period of time is the only difference between them. That is the rate of interest at which RBI lends money to the commercial banks. Both are same, but if it is for the long term, then it will be called as bank rate. If it is for the short term, it will be called as repo rate. Now increasing bank rate and repo rate is obviously same thing. How it will affect? It will affect like suppose the interest on borrowings, that is for the commercial banks. Commercial banks are taking loan from the Reserve Bank of India, and that interest rate has increased. So what will be the impact? The commercial banks will charge a higher interest from the people for giving loan to the general public, and general public will again take loan only if it is very necessary, otherwise they will try to avoid the loan and wait for the interest rates to go down. So the money supply in the economy eventually will decrease with increase in the bank rate or the increase in the repo rate. Then there is increase in the LRR. LRR is the liquidity reserve ratios that is given by the Reserve Bank of India to the commercial banks. Now there are two types of LRR. First is SLR and other is CRR. SLR is statutory liquidity ratio and CRR is the cash reserve ratio. Now SLR is the statutory liquidity that is to be maintained by the commercial banks with themselves in order to pay if any customer comes and asks for the money. Suppose a person has deposited some money in the bank and that is fixed deposit for a long time, and he has some emergency and he wants to take that money back. So for meeting such contingencies, commercial banks are required to keep some amount of money with them so as to meet these type of contingencies whenever they arise. And then there is CRR, that is cash reserve requirement, and that is for the commercial banks to keep some amount of cash which they are taking as a loan from RBI From that some amount commercial banks have to keep it with the RBI, so that in case of emergency RBI can lend that same cash to the commercial banks to meet their immediate cash requirements. So these are the two types of LRR, the statutory liquidity ratio and cash reserve ratio. Increasing these both limits means the commercial bank now have to keep more amount as reserve with themselves and with RBI rather than they were allowed to keep previously. So if they will keep more as reserve, so they will have less amount to lend to the people, general public through commercial bank. So in that case, that will ultimately lead to reduction in the money supply in the market. Also, if there is less amount of money to lend in the market, obviously again the interest rate by the bank will be high, because there is less money, so they will charge higher interest, and people with very urgent or immediate emergency causes will only take the loan, otherwise they will try to avoid the loan and wait for the interest and other rates to go down. So money supply will eventually decrease. Another way of quantitative instrument used by the RBI for regulating the money supply or decreasing the money supply for the case of excess demand is the open market operation of sale or the sale of government securities. The government has various securities and people love to invest in those securities because they come with a fixed interest rate, as well as they are very much secured because government will never run away or RBI will never run away. So they have full faith in them, although the return is fixed, but people always want to invest their money in government security. So when the government wants to reduce the money supply in the market, it starts selling its government security with the help of RBI, and people start putting their money in the government securities rather than demanding for any goods and services, and therefore it reduces the demand situation, because people demand now less as compared to previous when they were not having any government security. Now they have less money to demand for new goods and services. So this also reduces the money supply in the market. So there are 4 quantitative instruments. First is increase in bank rate, increase in repo rate, then increase in legal requirements by the banks, and then there is sale of government security. Then comes the qualitative measures. For the qualitative measures, first it is increase in the margin requirements. Now let us understand what is the margin requirements. Margin requirements are the requirements that is needed by the commercial banks to give loan to the general public. Suppose bank is giving a loan of 1000 rupees to the general public. So the legal requirement margin requirement is 10%. So people, if anyone is giving 1000 rupees collateral security, say a land of 1000 rupees or a car of 1000 rupees or a jewelry of 1000 rupees, so bank will lend the loan only for 900 rupees, because 10% is the margin requirement. Margin requirement is the margin which the banks keep in order there is increase or decrease in the value. Suppose the person has given jewelry worth rupees 1000 and the gold rates goes down, so the jewelry might become cheaper. So if the person is not able to repay 1000 rupees loan, the bank will sell jewelry and recover the money. But if the money, if the bank gives loan of rupees 1000 and the rate of gold goes down, in that case what will happen? The bank will be in loss of whatever the amount has decreased of gold. So to protect this from banks from getting loss by granting loans, the RBI sets this margin requirements. Suppose this margin requirement was 10% and there is now a situation of excess demand in the economy. So the RBI will increase this amount to suppose 20%. Now what if a person gives a 1000 rupees security to the bank, bank will give 200 as margin requirement and lend loan of rupees only 800. So we can clearly see that the person who is asking for the loan or getting the loan from the bank is getting 100 rupees less or 10% less than the previous amount which he used to get for keeping 1000 rupees security with the bank. So this is the margin requirement. Earlier the margin requirement was rupees 100. Now the margin requirement is rupees 200. So margin requirement has increased and therefore the person will get less amount to spend and therefore the money supply in the economy will eventually reduce. Then there is moral suasion. Moral suasion is a combination of persuasion and pressure on the commercial banks to lend less amount of loans to the general public. The RBI suggests or request or orders, you can say everything, because it is a combination of all those three. RBI suggests commercial banks to lend loan or grant loan only for the very urgent or very important purpose. Otherwise don't lend loan to the general public. Avoid giving loans to the public for some unnecessary purpose, especially for the speculative purposes. Like some people also take loan for some speculative purposes or some unnecessary purposes which is not very urgent. So government advises banks not to give loans to the public for any unnecessary purpose. Give them only for necessary purpose. So that is moral suasion, which is also called as the advice to discourage loans. That is advice given by the RBI to the commercial banks to discourage giving loans, granting loans to the general public, which eventually reduces money supply and the situation of excess demand goes down. And the last is selective credit control. Selective credit control, sometimes RBI does not ask the commercial banks not to give loan, rather it says give loan but up to some specific percentage or amount only. Like if you are giving loan somebody of rupees 1000, say RBI says that if you were giving earlier to commercial banks, if you were giving loan of rupees 1000 earlier, now you give only loan of rupees 500 to people. So this is selective credit control, when RBI asks commercial banks to give loans but give lesser loan than you were giving earlier. The RBI does not restrict them in moral suasion not to give loan, rather it says you give loan but give a lesser amount of loan to the general public. This will again reduce the money supply in the economy and again the situation of excess demand will come down. Now if we want to discuss the same measures to correct deficient demand, just opposite to all these factors, we can conclude with whatever was told for the excess demand, we can do just opposite for the correction of deficient demand. Let us see. Under fiscal policy, government spending should increase so that money supply will increase and eventually the situation of deficient demand will come to the aggregate demand required to establish full employment equilibrium. Decrease in taxes. If the government will reduce the taxes, people will have more amount to spend and again the money supply will increase and it will lead to increase in the demand and demand will reach its full employment level. Now under the monetary policy measures, the quantitative measure, government must decrease the bank rate, decrease the repo rate so that the loans become cheaper to the commercial bank and commercial bank may lend cheaper loans to the general public, which will eventually encourage people to take loan from the bank and also increase the money supply in the economy and therefore the aggregate demand situation will rise. Then there is decrease in the legal margin requirements by the RBI. It will reduce the statutory liquidity ratio as well as cash reserve ratio which the commercial banks need to keep with themselves and with the RBI. So they will have more money to grant loans, and again the money supply will increase, which will lead to increase in the deficit and demand situation. And then there is purchase or buyback of government security. Now at that time of excess demand RBI sells, but at the time of deficit demand RBI purchases back the government security. So RBI gets back the security, and the people who purchase the government security, they now have money in their hand, and that they can spend that money whatever they want to purchase in the economy. And again the aggregate demand due to this will go to the full employment equilibrium level. And for the qualitative measures, we can say that decrease in margin requirement, RBI will reduce the margin requirement, means the bank can now lend more money as compared to previous margin requirement. Like they can lend money, the 1000 example was there, so they can now again lend money up to rupees 900 for 1000 rupees security, and they need not to keep 20% as margin requirement, they can keep 10% only. So people will now have 10% more money to spend, and again the money supply will increase in the economy. Then in moral suasion and selective credit control, RBI will lift the selective credit control and say that yes, give or grant loans to all the sectors of the economy, whatever amount they are asking, let them get the loans. And under the moral suasion, RBI will persuade or encourage the banks to give more and more loans to the general public and firms, so that the economy can run more efficiently, and ultimately when the money supply in the market increases, the demand by the people will also increase, and this deficit demand will slowly come to the aggregate demand level which is required to establish the full employment equilibrium. So this was the full excess and deficit demand. Deficit demand was although not discussed as per the excess demand, but this was the all excess and deficit demand situation, and the policies by the government, that is fiscal policy and monetary policy, to curb the situation of excess and deficit demand. Thank you so much.